Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fallout 4 Mods Weekly, the show where we take a look at some of the really cool and interesting mods that come out in the past week for Fallout 4. This week we've got a nice assortment of weapon mods, an attachment pack, and a brand new huge armor pack for you guys. As always, if you want to try any of the mods featured in this video, every single one will be linked down in the description below, and there will also be an Xbox link if there is one available. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the video with our first mod we're checking out this week, which is the Service Pistol Beretta 92 and 93R by Pig. Now, this is another edition of the Another Millennia project where Pig is porting over some of the Millennia weapon mods into Fallout 4 from Fallout New Vegas. This time around, Pig is using assets from Millennia and the Another Millennia team to bring us the Beretta 92 and 93R in Fallout 4. The Beretta 92 being the classic M9 that most of you should recognize, and the 93R being a 3-round burst version of the weapon, which is very, very cool. These are functionally two separate weapons, though they are on the same weapon in this mod and can be modified by changing out the receivers over at the weapons workbench. Whenever you want to find this thing in-game, it is known as the Service Pistol, as Pig has opted for the Bethesda style of weapon names. If you want to get your hands on this thing, it is added to the level list, and it can be found after level 5 on tons of different enemies, including the Brotherhood of Steel, Gunners, Railroad Agents, and Raiders. Now, don't get me wrong, I love level list integration, but personally, I feel like this weapon spawn's a bit too common, at least in regards to the 93R version. I'm finding low-level raiders with this thing, and to be honest, it just doesn't make sense that there'd be that many floating around, but hey, that's just me. This weapon does come complete with custom animations that look absolutely fantastic, and there are different animations based on which magazine size you use, which I think is really, really nice. On top of that, like I mentioned, the 93R does have its very own burst fire functionality thanks to the 6th messenger, which is really, really cool and makes this a very, very unique pistol. Altogether, this makes for a perfect lore-friendly version of the Beretta and a mod that I like a whole lot. Really quick before we move on to the next mod, I'll go ahead and show off those custom animations so you guys can check it out for yourself, along with that burst fire functionality. Now, the next mod we're checking out this week is known as the Hunting Rifle Expansion Pack by Jakubekoo. Something like that. Anyways, this mod is going to add a handful of new attachments to the hunting rifle to give it some new functionalities that not too many people would expect. With this mod installed, you will be able to turn the hunting rifle into a semi-automatic or even fully automatic weapon, which is pretty crazy. This includes a brand new modeled receiver and a new set of animations for the hunting rifle to make it a semi-auto rifle. And this isn't something that's completely unheard of. This is actually a thing that has been done to bolt-action rifles in real life. There's actually some semi-auto conversions for the Lee Enfield that are pretty crazy and look kind of similar to this one. Now, in order to apply these attachments, you simply head over to the weapons workbench with any hunting rifle, and there are a set of new receivers that you can throw onto this weapon. It is going to reposition the magazine so that it does use combat rifle animations, and that also means that any combat rifle animation mods you have on will apply to this weapon as well. I'm currently using War Daddies, and it looks fantastic. Now, there is a set of semi-automatic options and even a set of fully automatic options, each with their own unique visuals, and it is going to add new magazines and new scopes to throw onto this weapon. The reason for that is that the scopes are repositioned to a new node, so you do need a full new set of scopes. And there's even some optional new iron sights that are completely different from the vanilla ones. Same goes for the magazines. Now that the magazine has been repositioned to a new node, it has its own new magazines, including a few rechambers like 7.62 and 4570 Government. Personally, though, I like keeping this thing in 308 as a big, heavy semi-automatic rifle. This is honestly a very Fallout-looking weapon, and I have to say, I like it a lot. Now, to be explicitly clear, this is not a new weapon, just a set of attachments for the hunting rifle, so you should be able to install this pretty much no problem. And with the way the author set this up, I think it'll be compatible with my future attachment pack, so that's pretty neat. This is definitely one that's worth downloading just to add some new options into your game with pretty much no repercussions. Really cool mod, awesome work by the author. Can't wait to see what they do next. Same as before though, before we move on to the next one, I'll go ahead and show off the new semi-automatic animations as they look really, really cool, especially with the off-centered iron sight. Alright, and the next mod is going to be one of the largest mods this week, and that is Quality Tactical Gear by Roadhouse. This mod adds a ton of new armors into the game, all surrounding a sort of tactical theme. This is going to include a ton of different plate carriers with different setups, as well as a handful of different tactical outfits that you can apply to your character, and there's a lot of options here. Now, this is, for the most part, just going to be a pretty large pack of tactical armors, but it does come with some really nice features that I think make it stand out compared to some of the other ones available on the Nexus. First of all, this does have complete support for both male and female characters. This is going to include a ton of assets from different artists, giving you a ton of variety in the options you have over at the Armor's Workbench, including a bunch of different camouflages you can apply to each of these. By default, they'll all be in multicam, but if you want to switch them up, you can do so over at the Armor's Workbench. This isn't a strict military outfit either. This can be used in sort of a mercenary style where you can combine it with different shirts and hoodies and flannels to give more of a wasteland feel. Now, when you install this thing, there are actually a handful of options you can choose from when downloading. First of all, you can choose what size of textures you want. By default, this mod is in 4K, but there are 2K and 1K options. Now, the only complaint with this mod is that those are not separate full installations. You actually have to download the 4K option, and then also, if you want to get a low-res version, you have to download that on top of it. And the 4K version of the mod is over 6 gigabytes, so you're going to need a lot of space for this thing. It's very clearly not coming to Xbox anytime soon. That being said, though, having those options if you are in a lower end rig is definitely a nice thing to have, especially with how complex some of these armor pieces are. Now, some of the other options included when you install this mod is the option to throw on an MCM menu, which is very nice for some of the included features, including functional night vision goggles. Another thing I really like is the way that this mod is integrated. By default, it is just a set of armors craftable over at the chemistry station, but you can choose to opt in for leveled-less integration. If you do choose to do that, there are two versions. One will just add all of these armors to the gunner faction, so you have a bunch of cool, realistic military armors from the real world added to the gunners. Or alternatively, you can opt for full integration, which will add all of these armors to pretty much every single enemy in the game. That's the Brotherhood of Steel, the Minutemen, the Railroad, and even Raiders. The only thing is that each of them will use their own camo scheme, so you can actually tell them apart. So if you're running a full tactical load order, this might be a great mod for you. There's a ton of different armor options, so the enemies will look varied, and every single faction will be covered using new real-world military armor. So if that's your kind of load order, this mod might be perfect for you. As you guys know, I'm definitely more into the lore-friendly aesthetic for my game, but for those of you who do like modern tactical armor sets, this is definitely one of the better options out there. There's just a huge variety of options, so many ways to customize over at the Armor's Workbench, and honestly, too many individual armor pieces to cover in just one segment. So for sure, try this one out for yourself if you're interested. There's a whole lot to look at. There's got to be at least one outfit that's perfect for you and your character. Now, the next mod that we're checking out technically didn't come out this week, but it is one I forgot to cover, and that is the Type 81 by Precision Tacos. This is going to be a brand new gun with a lore-friendly aesthetic that I enjoy quite a bit. Now, the Type 81 is not a weapons platform I am very familiar with. It's very reminiscent of the AK series, though it's not exactly the same. This thing offers a ton of customization options, allowing you to have it in an assault rifle format, or an LMG, or even sort of a Dragunov sniper rifle. This weapon does come with custom animations, specifically the right-handed AK animations by Hitman, but they are built into the weapon. It's not something you have to download separately. Now, while this mod only adds one weapon, there are actually 4 separate variants that will spawn out in the world. And yes, this weapon is added to the leveled list. The regular version of the Type 81 will start spawning after level 20 on Raiders, as well as the Type 81-1. Not really sure what the difference is between those two, but that's just something that is noted on the mod page. After that, the Type 81 SR, which is the Dragunov sniper rifle version, will start spawning after level 50 on Raiders, Raider bosses, and Gunners. And then finally, the LMG version of the Type 81 will start spawning on Raiders and Raider bosses after level 40. This weapon is very interesting to me, much like the Beretta from earlier in this video. I think it fits in both lore-friendly and modern tactical load orders. It doesn't add anything too crazy for Fallout, and honestly, the aesthetic of it does fit in the universe. But it fits right at home with modern load orders as well. There's also a ton of customization over at the weapons workbench, different types of wood materials you can throw on, tons of different barrel lengths and stock options, and of course a handful of magazines and scopes you can apply as well. Altogether, a wonderful new weapon mod, one that I enjoy a lot. With that, let's go ahead and check out the animations on this thing and then move on to the final mod of the week. And now for the last mod of the video, we have the 4570 Raptor by Vallesi, or Cesco. The 4570 Raptor is a brand new heavy late game revolver added into Fallout 4, and this thing is a lot of fun and I like it for a handful of reasons. It's a pretty simple revolver mod, not too much going on with it, but first of all, it's a very creative use of only vanilla assets, which I have to say I like a lot. Some really cool retextures of those assets and different creative ways of using them. And also, it adds a really cool lore-friendly revolver into the game, which we don't have too many of. Now, of course, the typical 4570 revolver you expect in Fallout is the one from New Vegas, being the hunting revolver, but this is a pretty interesting alternative option. In my opinion, this looks like a Fallout version of a modern revolver, but it still looks lore-friendly enough that I think it fits very well in the universe. This weapon does come with a bunch of customization options, including different barrel attachments like the integrated 10mm laser, some new custom scopes made from vanilla assets, including a targeting scope that has some really cool custom reticles. There are some added suppressors, which isn't something you normally see on revolvers, but it is nice to have as an option. And there's even a handful of material swaps, including some regular old gunmetal, some nice chrome options, and even some different camouflages. Altogether, this makes for a really cool new revolver. My only complaint is that there is no leveled list integration. I would love to see this thing spawning on enemies, and it's not too hard to add, especially now that we have resources like the new scripts added by A Blind Man and Dank Raft. So since this thing is not added to the leveled list, instead you're going to get it by crafting it at the chemistry station under the utility section. Or you can pick up the unique version of this thing, which is actually hand placed over at Union's Hope Cathedral and comes with a custom engraving. Altogether, this makes for a pretty cool, lore-friendly revolver, one that is a whole lot of fun. No custom animations or anything too crazy, but it is still a nice, heavy revolver, perfect for the late game, boasting some really high damage and some new ammo types that can give you even more versatility in combat. Altogether, this is a great new weapon, and while it doesn't boast any custom animations, I'll still go ahead and show it off even with the vanilla animations, just so you can get a look at how this thing actually looks in-game. So yeah guys, those are the mods that we had this week. Some really cool new stuff. Always awesome to see modders still keeping this game alive. Hopefully next week I will have some stuff to show you of my own. My projects have been a little bit slower lately, but I do finally have some cool new stuff to show you guys. So stay tuned for that, as well as another episode of Mods Weekly. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. As always, a big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video as well as the mods I create. And a very special thank you to Jeremy Briggs, Backbone, Danny, Freedom, Glasma, Damien, Indecisive Wolf, Logan Rigmaiden, Lord Toast, Microhan, Moonlit Gamer, Oscar, Scott, Sterling, Timmy76, Youth RC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. And I'll say again a very special thank you to Jeremy Briggs for your very generous donation. You guys rock. If you'd like to support the channel over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it's completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!